Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to First Thoughts. I'm Simon, this is Justin, and today we're giving our first thoughts on F1 the movie, which is a terrible title to begin with.
Yeah, not great.
They didn't put it in the movie, but it is on IMDb, F1 : the movie, and all the marketing though is just F1, which sounds much better. But even so, this movie should not be called F1. I'm getting ahead of myself, but this movie isn't really about F1. It is about a driver who happens to be driving Formula 1 at the moment. But anyway.
Hey, he's got 9 races in Formula 1.
Something like that. So it's starring Brad Pitt. Yep. It's also got Javier Bardem. It was directed by the same guy who did Top Gun Maverick. He's done a lot of those kind of movies, like big spectacle movies, but Top Gun Maverick, I would say, is the movie that is he's most known for at this point. Joseph Kosinski. I always wanted to call him John Krasinski, not him. But so yeah, he did Top Gun Maverick, he did Oblivion, he did Tron 2, actually, was his first movie as a director. But yeah, so starring Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem, and Damson Idris, who I've never seen anything before, I don't think.
Episode of Black Mirror, episode of The Twilight Zone.
It's also got some other people. Actually, real quick, can you check who the main blonde girl was? I know there's a couple of blonde girls.
Oh yeah, I just saw her.
Carrie Condon. I've heard that name before. Who is she? Banshees of Inisherin. She was great in that.
Okay.
That may be the only thing I've ever seen her. Nope. Civil War. Okay.
Well,
Captain
Friday
America,
the
Civil War. Friday is the computer, right?
Yeah, it's the new one that replaces Jarvis.
Yeah. Overall, it's a really good cast, which I think is the strength of this movie. I will also say, as a racing movie, the racing itself is entertaining, but
it's pretty hilarious at times too.
Yeah. So I am not a Formula 1 or any kind of racing fan. Justin, as the F1 fan here.
Yes,
How did you feel about the racing in this movie?
Well, there was a lot of rule breaking. A lot of rule breaking. Not a lot of penalties, but that would be kind of boring in the movie to see someone sitting in a pit lane for 10 plus seconds for all those penalties.
Damn it!
Some very interesting penalty-related strategies, but
yeah, that was the cool part, was the strategy. But it was, from my perspective, it seemed like it was written by somebody who had the rule book in front of them but had never watched it. It seemed like maybe not even the rule book, but like a Wikipedia page on Formula 1.
Some of the crashes and other incidents reminded me of various things I had seen before.
Sure.
I was watching last season when this was being filmed, so it does seem to just kind of taking some events from other races. They inserted them. There's actually only 10 teams with 20 drivers, and now they're the 11th team with making it 22 drivers. So, they had some interesting ways of kind of blending the film that they created with, actual race stuff.
Yeah, so this movie, I mean, yeah, I would say the racing is it's more focused on being entertaining than like accurate was the vibe I would get, but
oh yeah, no, there would be a lot more penalties in my opinion for some of this stuff. Some of these strategies are kind of crazy.
Yeah. But how does it, so compare it real quick, because we've had a few racing movies recently. I haven't seen all of them, but so I think it started with Ford versus Ferrari was like the first big one recently. Then there was the other one, was it just called Ferrari? And then there was Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah.
How would you compare this to those if you've seen any of those? Well, you've seen Gran Turismo.
I have not seen Ford versus Ferrari.
You haven't?
No.
Interesting.
That's the one I need to see.
Yeah, it's very good. I was comparing this movie to Gran Turismo and Ford versus Ferrari the entire time. And I think it does some things on par with, or maybe even a little bit better than Ford versus Ferrari, other things much worse. And then, as I'm sure you would agree with, it's better than Gran Turismo in every single way.
Yeah, it is. It definitely beats the hell out of Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
for some reason, I'm pretty sure I saw Ferrari, but I can't remember Ferrari that well. But the racing is
fun.
Yeah, it's funny. And it's certainly passable. There's certainly some interesting moments, some nice shots, because that's one really nice thing about Formula 1. I don't know much about other racing leagues, but have some great camera angles at times.
Yeah,
The onboards, the reverse angles, the side of the car. It definitely gives you that watching a race at home kind of feel. Mm-hmm. Not so much like I was there, but like I'm watching.
I felt like, I mean, the first racing movie to ever make me get like, pumped about it was Ford versus Ferrari. This did get me pumped a couple times too. I think probably honestly the first scene was my favorite as far as racing goes. I thought the beginning of the movie, up until a certain point, because then it got really silly during that scene, but we'll talk about that later. But like, I was like, ooh, first of all, the soundtrack is awesome, a lot of oldies and stuff, and they're editing it in time with the music, and that actually wasn't, the first scene's not even F1, it's I think a NASCAR race is the first race of the movie.
See, that's the thing, because actually that's the second race of the movie. Like, there's a tiny bit of the first one, but whatever. Yeah, the
NASCAR race was,
I was
pumped for that scene.
I don't quite know what those races are. It's like it was the 24 Hours of Daytona,
which I'd never heard of before.
Yeah, and I've heard of the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah,
but I didn't know about the 24-hour Daytona, and so I'm wondering if there's like a whole 24-hour league
kind of thing. Yeah, I
mean, I figure it definitely is its own kind of. Hey, they've got one. We have a famous racetrack.
But yeah, it starts out with like him being in this 24-hour race, and I was like, oh, Le Mans, and then they're like 24-hour of Daytona. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Never heard of that before.
It's part of the Michelin Endurance Cup.
Anyway, it is entertaining as far as that goes. Yeah. So to back up and not get so concerned about the racing, because no matter what movie you make about anything, whether it's a sport or a dance or music, it's always going to be funny to the people that actually know about that thing. That's just, it is. So ignoring that and just looking at this movie as a whole, I would say this movie, I'm not shocked at all how it turned out, because like comparing it to this director's other stuff, like I said, Top Gun Maverick, Tron and stuff like that. This movie is, for better or worse, a crowd pleaser in every way. It's got some, first of all, great actors, great cast, but definitely. Then and then it's got some cheesy moments, especially the dialogue is very cheesy, but it's just like, it's all feel-good stuff. Even when something upsetting is happening, it's squeaky clean. Like, was this movie PG-13? Because the amount of times they said freaking just made me laugh. But like, this movie will be, I think, it's not mine, but it will be a lot of people's favorite movie of the year, I think. Because it's very feel-good, it's fun, and it's got a very well-known cast. Now, I think it was good. I don't think it was great or anything, but I did think it was good.
I think it was entirely by the numbers, pretty straightforward.
Sure.
One of these, old guy come back to the sport, got to team up with a rookie, or something along those lines, sort of deals. You could see where it was coming from. Some of the shots, especially Brad Pitt walking into scenes. I definitely don't think I saw Top Gun Maverick. I've seen the first one, but I don't think I saw Maverick.
Sure.
But I can imagine Tom Cruise walking into scenes the exact same way.
Carrying the helmet too, yeah. Yeah, it's you're right that it's by the numbers. The funny thing to me, and I'm saying all these critiques kind of in a lighthearted way, because I'm saying this movie is enjoyable. It's a crowd pleaser. It's not insulting to the audience in any way. It's just fun, and it nails what it's trying to do. It would be like, the cliche term is like a dad movie. This is a dad movie. Dads across the world are going to love this. But like, when you say it's by the numbers, it's funny because of the amount of numbers that it goes by. And I heard before this that there was an entire character that was cut out just for time. Like, you see her, but she doesn't have any dialogue. Oh,
okay. I didn't know her role got reduced.
Yeah, but it's like, and there's still too many beats in this movie. Too many, subplots and too many things trying to happen. I was like, I wish we could have cut out some more stuff and just focused on what really makes this movie work, aside from the fun racing, is the actors. The cast are phenomenal. I wanted to see Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem do some more stuff, or all of the main characters to interact a little bit more.
Yeah, I will say they were the best on-screen pairing, Brad and Javier.
Yeah.
Every time they were together, just shooting the shit with each other.
Yeah.
It was pretty great times.
Yeah, but the sad thing is that they weren't ever asked to do anything like complex. And I mean the whole cast. Like, it's like I said, it's the movie's a crowd pleaser. It's just fun. It's not trying to rock the boat or do anything,
This movie's not trying to be incredibly emotionally complex.
No,
So
but it could have been.
You got the rookie who's trying to make his mark on a failing team, and he's at risk at losing his job. Mm-hmm. And you got the veteran.
Well, they're all at risk of losing their jobs.
But him especially.
Yeah. Well, he has the most to lose.
Yeah.
Because he's got the most to gain.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Brad Pitt, you got the veteran coming back to give it one more go. Yeah. After being away for a while and whatever struggles
for the love
he's
of the
got.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever his mysterious, not really dark, but mysterious past is. Yeah. Kind of.
What makes the movie work, because like you've seen all these beats before, why it works is because you're just endeared to this cast already. Because you've already seen them in a million things. Like, I wouldn't even say Brad Pitt or Javier Bardem did anything phenomenal in this movie, but you're just like, I like them. Yeah. And I liked seeing them, and they're having fun. They're laughing around. I mean, like I said, when we talk about it, it's going to sound a lot harsher than I actually feel about it, because there is so much to nitpick about it. But I was enjoying myself the entire movie. And not in an ironic, oh, it's so bad it's good way. I honestly was enjoying it, knowing what it was and what it was going for, which was just a fun, good time movie.
I definitely enjoyed it. A lot of dialogue was pretty funny. A lot of those interactions were pretty funny.
Cheesy as hell, yeah.
It was interesting. You knew where these characters were going, but it was interesting to see them get there.
Yeah. They make it believable enough that you're not as annoyed by all the cliches as you would be by a lesser cast. Yeah. Or the awful dialogue if it was a worse cast. I will, especially once we get into spoilers, we're going to spend most of this review probably making fun of the movie. Yeah. But I would also recommend it.
Yeah.
I'd say go see it.
I will say, for the race fans, there is some good passing action. You will find some of these races pretty funny.
Sure, but I mean,
the stuff they do to.
It's anything. If you're not watching Invincible to watch good football, or Rudy, you're watching it for the story.
Yeah, but the story of this race is pretty funny to me, at least. But still, like decent action in that race.
You don't watch sports movies for good sports. It's not what it's about. It's about the story and the characters and enjoying it.
I did, and I enjoyed that too. We'll talk about it in spoilers, but
I get it. I do. It's fine. When I watch Cool Runnings, I'm not critiquing the bobsledding in the movie. I'm not.
Yeah, but I can't help this.
Well, turn it off.
No, it's I can't talk about it too much because
I don't need you to. I'm telling you to turn that part of your brain off and enjoy the movie.
Oh, I enjoyed it, but that was funny.
Is there anything else to talk about before we get into spoilers? I mean, we need to rate it, but I don't know. I especially really liked Idris, who played the younger racer. Yeah. He really carried a lot of important weight in this movie, in that, like, he is both extremely unlikable and extremely endearing at different parts, and he's got such a cliche role. I mean, so does Brad Pitt. Yeah. But, like, you expect Brad Pitt to make that fun to watch.
It is Brad
This
Pitt.
Kid, well, I say he's a kid, he's older than us, he was able to do the same thing. And so it's like, it wasn't just about like, oh, I know him. It was like, that was actually, that the cast was very well done, and they were able to take extremely cliche stories and characters and moments and make me buy in. Because yes, I've seen all of the beats of this movie before in various movies, not usually this many, because holy shit, they tried to say a lot. They should have cut more out. This movie, 2.5 hours, over 2.5 hours, probably should have cut out like 20 minutes. And I can tell you exactly which 20 minutes to cut out.
All of the one girl scenes? Mostly.
Well, I'm not sure.
I'm not mad at her acting or anything. It's just her character is kind of.
There's a man I would rather cut out than her, but she could go too, honestly. But there is a specific man's character that pops up in the final third of this movie or so that you're just like, this adds nothing. Why are you here? But, you might think I'm crazy. I'm going to give this movie a 7. I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
Oh, gosh. Will I go 6.5?
You're going to be the mean one today?
Slightly.
Go for it.
Slightly. It is. The race is not knocking any points off. It's just I found it very funny.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, it was good. I wonder how confusing it might be at points for non-Formula One fans. They did explain some of the terminology involved. Other times they just kind of spat it out, and I wondered if people understood, you know.
I'm right here.
Safety cars.
You could ask me.
Do you understand safety cars and such?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't think there was any terminology in the movie that I needed to know that I didn't know. I don't
think it takes anything away from not knowing it.
There was obviously, you would get more out of it if you knew all the terminology and stuff, but for me, as the average person who doesn't watch racing of any kind, I'm watching it going, there's basic stuff I know, like a safety car or whatever. I know that. I know what
virtual safety car.
I know what a pit stop is. I get all that.
Box.
But it's like the deeper terminology.
Tire strategy.
I at no point. Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't know. Like, I obviously figured that there was tire strategy, but it was never something I thought about before. And so it's like, sure, you see that and you go, oh, okay. And there was nothing to me as a viewer that I felt like I was left behind or confused at all. I thought it was all pretty straightforward.
No, I felt like it mostly was. There was just a couple of times where they would, because they were explaining a bit more terminology at first. They'd say something and then they'd give a weird explanation, I guess, to the fans at home or whatever, which, helps. But,
yeah,
it was clearly just for us, the audience. But
yeah,
they didn't always do that. And I wondered if there were certain questions that a non-watcher might have, but they weren't really very important to the movie at all. It got the whole gist across.
No, yeah, I didn't have really any complaints during the movie. What I should have mentioned, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. He knows how to make a blockbuster. Great CGI. There was not a single moment that is coming to my memory of a moment where the CGI stuck out as bad. And I don't know how much CGI they actually used, but I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, a lot of it, as far as like the actual driving and stuff, was practical, but the crashes and stuff was CGI.
Yeah.
And at no point did I go like, oh, that looks bad. Like, it didn't take me out. And man, that is such a compliment, because that's so rare in modern movies where they don't rush the CGI and actually do it and take their time and do it right. So that's that's part of why I gave it a positive rating. Is I'm just like, I was impressed by that. Like, this is, I already used the term twice, but it is a crowd pleaser. It knew what it was. It knew how to succeed at what it wanted to do, and it did it. Is it particularly highbrow? No, of course not. It's not going for that. But it succeeded and did exactly what it was supposed to do with the material. I just, like I said, my biggest complaint is the title of the movie.
yeah. It could have been a little more interested in Formula One, but I guess that gets the point across.
What was Brad Pitt's name? Hayes? Sonny Hayes? I don't know what you would call it, but just F1 was a nothing title. It should have, it could have been anything. It could have been something to do with the plot or something they said, but it being called F1 just doesn't really make sense. It makes even less sense than Gran Turismo being called Gran Turismo, when it's like the dude was actually driving Formula One for the majority of the movie just because he played Gran Turismo at one point.
It's the same exact reason. How would you know you're seeing the Gran Turismo movie if we don't call it Gran Turismo? How do you know this is the Formula One movie if we don't call it F1?
Well, the
movie.
The guy in this also drove a simulator. We should have called it whatever that simulator was called. Maybe that was Gran Turismo for all we know.
Formula One, the simulator?
Yeah. Formula One, the simulator, the movie.
Yes.
That's what they should have called it. I would have been bought all the way in.
Listen, I would
have bought 2 more tickets. Oh, God. This is the first time I've ever started a movie in one theater and finished it in another one. Yeah. Never done that before.
No, me neither. I doubt I never will again.
Yeah, I hope not. Anyway. Yeah. 7.
6.5.
It's good. Not great, but it's good.
It's exactly what you expect it to be.
Yeah.
And the racing was pretty solid.
And Brad Pitt.
Who doesn't love Brad Pitt?
Dude, they milked Brad Pitt. They just made him shirtless
Yeah.
So many times, like, he's taking a shower for no reason. He's just like, ooh, let me do some pull-ups really quick. Oh, I'm shirtless over here now. Oh, look at the tattoo on my chest.
Listen, every time a race ends, got to take that shirt off, lie down, get it all stretched out.
Yeah, just think really hard about your life. Oh, God. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Anyway, yeah, that's what we had to think. We're going to get into spoilers now, though, so if you don't want anything spoiled, you should click away. Go watch the movie. It is good. Come back, and we can talk about it then. But don't forget to like, share, follow, review, subscribe, comment, all those things. It does help. Thanks, guys. Bye. We gained 2 subscribers this week.
Ayo.
38 now.
God damn.
I know.
On the way
rolling
up.
them in. All right. Spoilers. Okay, so sorry, technical difficulties, but we're getting spoilers now. So, backing up to the beginning of spoilers. So the basic plot is Javier Bardem owns a Formula 1 racing team that sucks. It's the worst of the worst. They've never had a top 10 finish by any racer in their entire 3-year history. And so Javier Bardem and Brad Pitt used to race together seemingly.
I think they're on the same team, but they're like rivals.
So he goes to Brad Pitt, who's been doing odd jobs, essentially, just going around racing whatever he feels like, because as this is a spoiler, it's all the way at the end of the movie. Essentially, he says, like, he doesn't really care about legacy. He just wants to go chase this feeling he calls flying, essentially.
He lost his love for racing, and now
So
he needs to do whatever he
back.
can to get it
Essentially
get it back and keep it.
Yeah, he's like an adrenaline junkie, but just for racing.
Yeah.
So like even at the end of this movie now, he's doing like dune buggy
Which
racing.
is the craziest shit.
Yeah.
Not even
But
because of the
it's
dune
fun.
buggy. No, it's fun as shit. I'd love to do
Yeah.
it. But
Baja
like
racing is what it's called.
he's got. This is also something we find out later, but he's got crazy like
Yeah.
spinal and back issues, and he's
Major,
going
like,
off the dunes.
At
That's
least it was like
wild.
6 or 8 screws in his
Yeah.
spine or something.
It was crazy, and he's going into the dunes. That's
Awesome.
a little insane.
But anyway, so Bardem's character, like I said, owns the worst team to ever exist in racing history. They've never even placed in the top 10. And so now he's $350 million
Of course.
in debt. So he goes to Brad Pitt saying, like, hey, you should come race for us because then we'll win and we'll actually get money. And Brad Pitt's like, you're insane. But then he goes, but God damn it, I'm in. And so they start working together, but there's this hotshot kid who is a racer for the team already.
He's the rookie.
And he's up and coming and way too
bad.
cocky for how good he is, because he thinks he's the next best thing. And as Pitt puts it later, everybody here is at least as good as you. So yeah, it's a fun dynamic there. But anyway, long story short, God, can you? There ends up being a bunch of other external factors, not just them fighting each other, the 2 drivers fighting each other, but then also the people who own the team, well, the board behind the team want different ownership, and so are trying to sabotage the team in a subplot that makes 0 sense.
Hey, they want to sell it, man. It's for the money.
Because winning would get you money. Hold on. Wait. That was so dumb. It pissed me
winning
off.
the races doesn't really get them much. Well, it can rocket them into the constructors, because depending on where you finish, can position you higher, which does get you more money.
But you just get better sponsors, and that's how you're getting money, and people are going to invest in the team, and once they see that you won something, then you'll get better people wanting to work with you
see all
and
those
for
sponsors
you.
they had already?
I recognize one, I think.
It was like Expressify.
Expressify, my favorite
Expressify.
brand ever.
Apparently
Is it
they paid
real
a lot for
brand?
that spot.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think they are a real brand.
Oh, are they?
Some of those brands, well, a lot of those brands are definitely real, and like I think I read Apple was selling advertising.
Oh, Expensify was what
Expensify,
it was called.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
Expressify.
They're real, and I think they paid like the most money to be
Wonderful.
that
Well,
positioned.
see, now other ifis can start, like Shopify and Spotify will now want to sponsor you because you won something, but no, you're furious because you wanted to sabotage the team, and Brad Pitt was getting too close to actually being good, so you were like, oh, you need to leave.
They laid it out. If they can manage one win, they won't have to. They won't force a sale with the team, and they can just carry on business as usual.
Stupid.
Stupid.
That subplot should have been cut, and then as you said, the love interest character should have also been cut.
No, I wasn't talking about her. I was on the other one.
Okay, well, I was going to say her too.
Just because they were cutting her character out. If they get... Because you said before, she was the character they cut down to basic...
No.
Oh, I thought you were talking...
There was... No. No. There's a character who literally has 0 lines in the movie.
Oh, I thought you were talking the mech girl.
No.
I thought you were saying they cut her role down to what she had. Because, she's there at the beginning, and then she's better later, but in between, she's kind of just in the background.
She's just useless. Cut her... Cut the love interest thing. It adds nothing to the movie. It's just all of these...
Well, it doesn't add anything, but it's Brad Pitt.
It's part of the feel-good formula. You need... For every dad movie, you need a love interest.
Literally, as soon as she...
A love interest that adds nothing to the plot.
I swear, I don't know if they looked at each other first, or she just gave one little quippy line to him first, or he to her. But it's just the very first second they were on screen together. It's like, oh, she gonna fuck him.
Yeah, you could tell from the first second because it just lingered a little too long. And you're like, oh, okay.
That's who it is, this movie. Brad Pitt, gotcha.
No, should have cut her, should have cut the other girl, should have cut the board member. It should have just been about the dynamic between Brad Pitt and Bardem and Brad Pitt and Idris. Those 3 guys are the crux of the story, or at least should be, and we didn't need anything else. And the fact that this movie is 2.5 hours really is begging to cut stuff out. And then, if you cut out everything, then it would be 90 minutes, but then you could add back in a half hour of fleshing out those relationships and dynamics between those 3 characters. That's what they should have done.
See, it'd be as much as I didn't really like the plot, I feel like getting rid of the team getting sold plot would necessitate some character changes.
No, I don't think so. Because if they lose, Bardem is going to have his team sold anyway.
Right.
You don't need the board member going, I'm going to sell the team and sabotage the team and all this. I'm going to report our car as fraudulent.
Yeah, no.
That was dumb as fuck.
He didn't need all that. I'm just saying the plot of the team being sold if they don't win.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. Keep that.
Okay. Then we're on the same page.
Keep that.
Okay.
100%.
Good.
You need that dark cloud looming over
you. Yes, I agree. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
The kid would be very different if that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because his whole character is, of course, he's the cocky upstart who wants to be the number 1 driver on the team, but he's afraid of losing his job because he's the rookie and he's done nothing to prove himself. And there's only 22 spots in Formula 1.
Yeah. And
there's a bunch of people in Formula 2 who are champions of Formula 2 waiting to get in.
Yeah, I think that dynamic was interesting.
Yeah. No, it was definitely the most interesting part. And they were great. They were all... I guess we didn't get much of Javier and Idris's character
interacting at all
directly,
really,
just the 2 of them.
Yeah.
They didn't really get much
we got
of that.
More of that. Yeah.
That would have been good, but all the other interactions between the 3 of them, pretty great. Yeah.
I mean, I just wish we could have focused on just that. Brad Pitt's backstory gets told, and you get to see little snippets of it before it's told, and so he's fun and all. And like I said, Idris does a really good job of making this character interesting despite the lack of depth they give him. Javier Bardem as well. But I just wish that the writing could have helped them a little bit rather than just completely weighing it on the charisma of the cast.
Yeah.
And so if we had cut out the unnecessary characters, we could have then, built back into that part of it, and it would have been, I think, better for it. It would have been more serious, and maybe it wouldn't have been, like I said, that crowd pleaser feel or that dad movie or the oh yay movie.
I mean,
but come on.
I mean, just thinking about the other characters, none of us are really going home truly thinking about.
Got him.
Damn, nice. Just thinking about those extra characters wise.
I don't want to.
None of us are really going home caring that Brad Pitt got to fuck the person Brad Pitt was obviously going to fuck in this movie.
Yeah.
No, nobody really cares about that.
It's just part of the feel-good formula.
It's cool that she's the first the first like head engineer of a Formula One team in history.
Okay.
Cool. Whatever. That was like a
But
throwaway
then you
line
need
just for them to fuck.
You need to focus on that more then, and not just have her be the pretty face with the fun accent.
And then the other girl, the mechanic one.
Yeah.
Just thinking about, the more we're talking about it, the more I'm reminded that she may have screwed up a couple of times. Like, I guess she
sucked
stood
at
in
her
the way, and but she wasn't the only one.
Yeah, they all sucked.
But she was the only one that got the focus of really being better later. She was the only one we needed to care about.
Yeah.
When you could have still had the generic, our pit crew sucks.
They start to get into this whole point about how, like, when Brad Pitt comes, he's like, everybody sucks at their job, but like he is nicer to some people, meaner to other people, but all around he's like, we can't with this, like, this car's not good enough to win. It just isn't. The pit crew is too slow, and this and that. And then the lady comes like, well, until you win a race, or at least finish a race, I'm not listening to anything you say. And like, she has to like tell him, like, just because you think you know more than everybody else doesn't mean you actually do. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. Are we going to see... That's like one curveball to this movie, is that he actually is wrong about some stuff. Because like, I love the one part where he says something about the younger guy, and then the girl goes like back at him, because it's like, that's you too.
Yeah.
And I really wish that they had like talked about that more. You definitely see his change in Brad Pitt, where he makes a difference in his attitude, but like, I don't know. I wish it was just expanded on. All of the three main guys, I wish we had expounded on them all more, I guess.
Yeah, Brad Pitt definitely changes some, but he has the least to change in the movie, even though, it's just mostly...
Javier Bardem is perfect. He doesn't change at all.
Yeah, that's fair. Of the two drivers, I guess, that's really the only people... Well, actually, I guess the crew, but whatever.
They don't change in... personality, they just stop sucking at their job. Oh, I dropped the drill again. Oops.
She really dropped it under the tire.
Under the tire. I thought it was going to pop his tire when he drove over.
Oh, so did I.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything else to say about this movie?
Fine. I'll go on my spiel.
No,
but,
I don't want you to... Is there anything to talk about this movie other than how it's inaccurate to actual racing?
No. It's just, it's not really the inaccuracies. I don't care about the crazy long pit stops, except for the one where he was... So that was the scene where the audio dropped out of the first theater.
Yeah, where he deliberately made the pit stop longer for a reason. So
he wanted very specific set of tires.
Yeah.
The softer tires, they give you more speed, but they degrade faster. Mm-hmm. His crew wanted him on the hard tires. Mm-hmm. Least amount of speed, take the longest to warm up, but the last the longest. Mm-hmm. The hards were going to last the whole race. They were saying the softs were only going to last like 10 laps or so. I don't know how many laps were left, right? Mm-hmm. So he sits there in the pit for like an extra 30 seconds to a minute until they give him the softs, because, I mean, otherwise he's just going to sit there forever.
Yeah.
And that was pretty funny. That might be the most ridiculous part to me.
Yeah.
That was very funny. No, but I think it was the same race, but just afterwards, because he put on the softs. They're only going to last a little while. He starts fouling to get safety cars to bunch up the pack, to give his partner more of a chance to get a point, to get himself extra tire changes when you get a tire change on their safety car, it takes less time, so it's more advantageous, but they come out of nowhere generally, unless you're causing them, which is just hilarious. I don't really have much of a problem with that.
I love the strat.
It was hilarious to me. And people who know about 401 know they would have penalized a bunch of that, but they're going to laugh. They're going to find that hilarious, and they should.
Well, no, they did a review, Justin, and it was incidental.
No. None of that shit was incidental.
Shh. It was.
And maybe the first time, maybe you get two. But when you do like 3 or 4 things, you're taking out barricades.
They said with his reputation, they're going to take a long look at it. And they did. It was like 12 minutes. I was like, imagine watching this race and being pissed off the whole time. Like, why are we still...
No, I couldn't be pissed off at that. That was just funny.
No, I'm like, if it happened in real life.
Oh, if it happened in real life, oh my gosh, he'd be getting 10 second, 20 second. The black flags would be out front. They'd be telling him, get the hell out of here. It'd be great. We'd also have some good onboard radio stuff that, we can't get in the movie. That's all good and fine.
Yeah.
Other than that, the next race was pretty interesting. I liked a lot of the strategies in the third one.
My favorite thing about the racing in this movie is that no matter where the two main characters were in, relation to all the other drivers, the announcers only talked about them. They're just like, man, they're all the way back in the last place and second to last place. Man, they really suck. And it's like, why are you talking about them?
That is pretty funny. I didn't even think about that. There's nothing else interesting going on in the race at all.
No.
It's just Verstappen whipping ass again. I get it. They were
And then
boring
meanwhile,
years.
these two morons, and they're like, look at them.
And I was trying to avoid a little bit of this earlier, but it was very smart to constantly put them at the back or at the towards the middle, because there was the former. Well, I guess he's the current champion. He's been the champion for the last 4 years in a row. Verstappen. Yeah. There were years
that he's just
laps
ahead,
30 seconds ahead of everybody. The only reason he gets back to 10 seconds is because he took an extra pit stop for the fucks of it. Yeah. That would just be a boring movie. So you stick him at the back. They have to overpass. There has to be a bit more strategy. We get some toes, some slingshots.
What do you think his reasoning was? He wasn't in the last race because the main guy that they were racing with was Lewis Hamilton in the last race. Why wasn't Verstappen racing that race? He just took it off?
Well, Verstappen was there, I assume, but
they didn't show him.
Maybe
they did. I don't remember them showing him.
There's probably 3 reasons.
He already won the whole thing and he was just taking a vacation?
Potentially, yeah. There's probably a few reasons.
Do people do that in real life? Okay.
No. You still race until the end, but you can win early.
Yeah.
But you're going to keep racing.
Okay.
You don't think you get to leave early. That'd be kind of weird.
Could you have your alternate race for you?
Technically, I believe so. I don't know if there's any rules against being able to do that. You probably wouldn't want to do that until you've both locked up the individual driver and the constructors for your team, because your team would be pissed at you if you risked the constructors after just getting your stuff. But yeah, that could happen. I think he was just in the middle of the pack for a few reasons. One, I don't know how much Max ever really wanted to be in this movie.
I don't think he actually was in the...
He had a line in the movie. But it didn't show his face.
I was going to say,
I figured they just had him record that elsewhere. Or they took some audio from a race and just put it on a Red Bull driver and said that's Max there.
Yeah, because all the other drivers, they were going on their way to show their faces.
Well,
so I was like,
okay.
I don't think Verstappen actually was ever here at any point.
So in the footage they took of the teams lining up on the sides and adding Brad Pitt and Idris's character and their cars in there.
Sure.
He was there. I saw him a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
But they're actually at a race.
At a race, and
they're just being added for 15 extra minutes before it gets going. So he's not really him being part of the movie, I wouldn't say. But yeah, he was in there for that.
It wasn't like Lewis Hamilton, who actually walked around and did stuff.
Yes. Now, Abu Dhabi, in the first season I started, Hamilton actually lost. That's the first time he had lost a championship in a while. At Abu Dhabi on the final lap. Kind of felt a little reminiscent of that. He's an executive producer, I believe, Lewis Hamilton in the movie. And that's a large part of the reason why I think it was Lewis in the end there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
He's just like, I hate losing. Remember when I lost that one time?
Yeah. And that felt a little reminiscent. He didn't crash out, so that was a little different. But I wonder if it wouldn't have been, because I would have thought you put Max there because we didn't see Lewis in the end.
Yeah,
really.
And it was weird because Verstappen was the Black Knight of the movie, it felt like, where he just kept popping up and being like, oh, he's winning again.
Which makes sense.
And then they completely deviate to Hamilton, and it's like, that felt like an odd choice.
Yeah, and that to me feels either like Hamilton is probably still the biggest figure in Formula One, even though he's not.
Is he? Wow. Okay.
I mean, probably. He probably doesn't make the most money anymore.
I hear much more about Verstappen.
He's been winning recently. Overall popularity, it's probably still Lewis.
Okay.
But Max is definitely on a crazy rise. It's probably very close. He could definitely overtake him. I just think Lewis has had more longer and been more in outside of racing spheres. But I kind of think that Lewis was there a bit, executive producer-ish.
Sure. Yeah, so anyway, like I said, it's a good time. I know we spend a lot of these reviews talking shit, and there's a lot to make fun of, a lot to nitpick, but ultimately it is a fun, turn off your brain, have a good time, feel good movie. That's what it is. It's a summer movie. It's a blockbuster. Like I said at the top, this is going to be, when everybody's putting out their top 10 lists at the end of the year, I'm sure this is going to be on a lot of people's, because it's just that kind of thing where it's not offensive, it's not controversial in any way. There's no reason for people to dislike it. It's just fun without any thought. So, 7 for me.
I'll stick with my 6.5, but I still enjoyed it.
It'd be really funny if you just like, actually 2. Like,
so unrealistic.
Somehow going from like a 6.5 down to a 2 or like a 3 in the span of half an hour. Like, what the hell just happened?
I wanted to see a 10-second penalty served in the pit lane, okay? Those pit stops, the lengths, ridiculous, all right? 5-second penalty was good. What was it? They had a 6.6 penalty, and they were like, that's about double the time of where they want to be. No, that's like triple the time of where they want to be.
They had an 11-second pit stop at 1.2.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Was
I was
funny.
just like, oh my God. Anyway, yeah, it's fun. Go watch
The jacks
it.
didn't work. That was hilarious.
Honestly, and I don't say this very often, even though I am pro theater, I still don't care where you see it, if it's in a theater, at home, or whatever, but I would recommend seeing this on a big screen, because racing movies just really benefit from being on a big screen with big speakers.
I feel like racing movies, war movies,
Yeah.
anything loud, action, explosions, engines revving, although not in Formula 1
I really
cars don't
thought
rev.
there was some really interesting sound design in this movie. 'Cause before, like, I should have realized, because all the sound was coming from just the front right speaker.
Yeah.
But I didn't for a second. I was just like, they're going for a weird choice here. I don't dislike it, but it's a weird choice.
Because it started an awkward time where it was like, it was the
beginning
first
of the race.
race. Yeah. And it really was it started happening when the
For
people in the
context,
pit.
we didn't explain this to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
We went and saw this movie at one theater. Halfway through, there was a weird problem with, like, the DCP. You don't know what that means. There was a weird problem with the movie where the sound mix wasn't correct. And I don't know how this happened, but it kept cutting to only the front right speaker, which happened to be, like, background noise. And at one point, it was also it switched to the front left, which was the subwoofer. Just the subwoofer over here that was just doing bass, and that was it. But, like, so it was like they were in a coffee shop at one point, and all you heard was the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then during the race, all you heard was some vague, distant racing sounds, and then the announcers. That's all you heard. So it's like cutting to the team, and they're shouting stuff, and you hear nothing. And I was like, this is a weird choice. But at first, I'm like, I could buy this, because, like, it really started when Brad Pitt sits in the car, and all the sound cut out. And I'm like, oh, so he's getting in the zone.
And I thought it was like,
And they're telling stuff to him, but he's not even listening.
yeah, and I thought, okay, they're on the speakers. Maybe they can hear each other, but we're just not meant to hear it right now. Maybe it'll get to him later, or maybe we'll dip in later and get back to no, it's just the speakers.
Yeah.
Then a power outage, and then we had to evacuate.
There was no power outage.
I've never been evacuated from a movie theater before.
Me neither.
That was
I swear,
an interesting time.
I swear, because they were very weird about it, and I swear I smelled smoke. I think something caught on fire, and they wanted us to not panic. Because when we asked, I said, what's going on? And she goes, well, there was a power outage, and the other guy goes, you have to leave. Long story short, we're closed. And I was like, okay. So I swear something was on fire. It smelled like a grease fire, like something in the kitchen. It didn't seem like the place was on fire. It was just like something got burned and something bad happened. And so they're just like, all right, everybody out. But yeah, so then we went to a separate theater altogether and caught the second half of the movie. We got tickets. And what was hilarious was we sat down, and right away there was a scene where the sound cut out. I went, don't do this to me. And then what was even funnier was then he's explaining to the girl, like what we said about how he's chasing the moment, that he's flying, and he goes, the sound all cuts out. I just like smacked you. I was like, yeah, I know it does. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like, share, follow, subscribe, all of that. Let us know if you like the audio, please tell us it was good.
It's
And
better than the first
picture.
film was.
It better be. Thanks, guys. Bye. Oh, God.